In a courtroom in Manhattan, a shocking moment exploded into chaos, sending shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. It was 8:47 a.m. when Diddy, once a towering figure of power and influence, suddenly sprang from his seat, pointed at the new surprise witness, and screamed, "You're the real snake!" The man at the center of it all, Jay-Z, had just stepped into the courtroom, and in an instant, everything spiraled out of control. What followed was a blur of violence, federal agents, and an unthinkable confrontation between two former allies turned bitter enemies. The music world held its breath as Diddy charged at Jay-Z, fists raised, all while the media frenzy grew louder. But this wasn't just an outburst. It was the culmination of years of dark secrets, power struggles, and a secretive world of excess, manipulation, and hidden tapes. Just hours before this dramatic courtroom clash, the music video for Freak Off had dropped, igniting speculation about hidden messages and cryptic jabs at Diddy. But no one, not even the most seasoned industry insiders, could have predicted the storm that was about to break open in that very courtroom. What happened next would shock the world. The chaotic courtroom confrontation, it all started with a buzz in the air. Monday the 27th was no ordinary day in the federal courthouse of Manhattan. The trial that had been unfolding for weeks suddenly took a sharp turn. The courthouse was abuzz with rumors that a surprise witness would appear, none other than Jay-Z himself, but nobody could have predicted the intensity of what was about to unfold. At exactly 8:07 a.m., the large wooden doors of Courtroom 7 swung open. Diddy, dressed in a dark gray suit, entered. His usual aura of arrogance was gone, replaced with something far more unsettling. A look that betrayed his mental state. Behind him trailed three special federal officers, a clear sign of his increasing volatility. His left hand nervously tapped against his knee, counting down to something. No one knew what was coming, but everyone could feel it. As the room filled with reporters and spectators, a sudden, sharp metallic click broke the silence. The door behind the judge's bench creaked open, and there he was, Jay-Z. No entourage, no sunglasses, just Jay-Z, dressed in a navy blue turtleneck, walking into the room with an eerie calm. He didn't look at anyone. His eyes were locked forward, seemingly detached from the chaos around him. But then, everything changed in an instant. The moment Jay-Z stepped foot into the courtroom, Diddy jolted upright, his eyes locked onto his former friend. "You have no right to be here," Diddy shouted, his voice shaking with fury. "You owe me your whole damn life." Before anyone could react, Diddy charged, fists raised. He rushed at Jay-Z, intent on attacking. The courtroom fell into chaos as federal officers scrambled to restrain him, tackling Diddy to the floor. Yet even as he was subdued, Diddy's eyes remained fixed on Jay-Z, burning with a rage that no one could ignore. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a reckoning, and the world was watching. The mysterious Jay-Z testimony. The courtroom was still in chaos, the tension thick in the air as the media tried to process what had just happened. Jay-Z, unmoved by the dramatic scene, remained silent as federal officers escorted him to a secure chamber. But the shockwaves from that moment were far from over. It was clear now. This wasn't just a trial about Diddy. It was about to become a spectacle that no one could have predicted. As Diddy was escorted out for a psychological evaluation, the attention shifted to Jay-Z. His unexpected presence had already set the stage for something bigger, but no one knew what role he would play next. For the first time in the trial, Jay-Z was called to testify, but in a way no one had expected. Instead of appearing before the jury, he submitted a 28-minute audio statement. At precisely 11:24 a.m., the courtroom fell silent again, as Jay-Z's recorded voice filled the room. The statement began with a chilling declaration: "I am no longer loyal to the darkness." Those words would go viral within minutes, dominating social media and sparking a frenzy online. Jay-Z, once considered the symbol of calculated silence and loyalty, had finally broken his silence. What was even more striking was the depth of his message. His refusal to step into the witness stand spoke volumes. He wasn't just fighting back. He was setting the stage for a new chapter in this long-running feud. Jay-Z wasn't just protecting his reputation. He was preparing to reveal a truth that had been hidden for years. The weight of his words lingered in the air. Jay-Z's testimony was more than just a defense. It was a defiant statement, one that suggested there was more at play here than anyone had imagined. The internet exploded with reactions, and the speculation about what Jay-Z knew and when he knew it intensified. The courtroom was still recovering from the shock when another bombshell hit. The FBI had quietly started their own investigation into Jay-Z's role in the events surrounding Diddy's empire. The question now wasn't just who was guilty, it was who was going to crack first. Tape 17 and the FBI's investigation. While the courtroom was still reeling from Jay-Z's shocking statement, the focus quickly shifted to what was being called Tape 17, a chilling piece of evidence that could change everything. The FBI had been quietly investigating the connection between Diddy's private parties and the underground world of power and manipulation for years. But it was Tape 17, the most damning footage yet, that threatened to crack the entire case wide open. The tape, which had been locked away in an evidence vault for months, was finally brought to light during this pivotal moment in the trial. What the FBI had unearthed was nothing short of shocking. In the blurred visuals, the unmistakable voices of several high-profile celebrities could be heard, and the footage suggested a sinister undercurrent to the luxurious parties Diddy had famously hosted for years. But the real shock came when investigators identified a voice on the tape, one that seemed unmistakably familiar: Oprah Winfrey. The tape depicted a private session where a woman's desperate screams echoed through the room as she was dragged from a dark corner, her identity still unknown. But the voice that followed, the one that said, "Where's the camera?" was unmistakably Oprah's, according to voice-matching specialists. This revelation hit the internet like a storm, with rumors swirling about Oprah's potential involvement in the notorious circles Diddy had allegedly created. The FBI immediately ramped up their investigation, cross-referencing metadata from the tapes. But it wasn't just the public shockwaves that reverberated through the media. An internal source revealed that while the tape was being authenticated, another bombshell dropped: a leaked image from the Freak Off music video, showing two men, one resembling Diddy and the other Jay-Z, sitting across from each other in a room bathed in red light, a stack of VHS tapes between them. The cryptic message scrawled on the floor of the image read, "Don't trust her. She has the tapes." The questions now seemed endless. Was Oprah truly involved in the dark side of Diddy's empire? And more importantly, what else was on the tapes that had never been meant to see the light of day? As the FBI's investigation deepened, the trial became a full-blown media frenzy. What started as a civil case was quickly turning into something much darker and far more dangerous. The aftermath of Tape 17. As the investigation into Tape 17 continued to unfold, the public's fascination with its contents reached a fever pitch. The FBI, now fully immersed in a web of dark secrets, worked tirelessly to authenticate the footage and uncover its origins. What was once considered a high-profile civil case had transformed into something far more sinister, an unraveling scandal that stretched far beyond Diddy and Jay-Z. The tape was just the beginning. The investigation quickly spiraled into a tangled mess of names, power players, and a covert world of manipulation. The FBI discovered that Tape 17 wasn't just a one-off recording, it was part of a much larger archive, a series of tapes meticulously cataloged and locked away for years. Each new tape unearthed more disturbing details, but none were more shocking than the revelations surrounding Oprah. The speculation grew louder. Could Oprah be the one behind these dark dealings, the keeper of these tapes, or had she been an unwilling participant? The FBI's focus intensified, and it wasn't just about what was on the tapes, it was about who had access to them. Investigators quickly began tracing the origins of the footage, and what they uncovered shocked even seasoned agents. Several high-profile individuals, many connected to Diddy's empire, had ties to the tapes, including individuals from the highest levels of politics and entertainment. What was once thought to be a secret underground world of excess and debauchery now appeared to be part of a vast network of manipulation and control, touching far more powerful figures than anyone had anticipated. Then, just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any more explosive, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. A second, more graphic version of the freak-off video, one with unsettling content, was leaked. This time, the clip contained footage showing a more disturbing side to the parties, signs of coercion and manipulation that hinted at a much darker agenda. The internet exploded with theories. Was this video the last of the tapes, or was there more to come? And if so, what was still hidden in those secret vaults? With every new leak, the story became even more twisted, drawing in more players, some unknown, some feared, and a question that no one could answer. Who was orchestrating all of this from behind the scenes?
The courtroom attack, a new turning point. The trial had reached a boiling point. The courtroom was no longer a place of legal proceedings. It had become the stage for a full-scale media spectacle. The leaks, the tapes, and the shocking revelations had drawn a line in the sand, with every new piece of evidence sending the public into a frenzy. Yet nothing could have prepared anyone for what happened next. On Wednesday, 10:13 a.m., the tension in Courtroom 7C was suffocating. Just moments earlier, a leaked video titled "Freak Off Studio Cut" had gone viral. Uploaded by an anonymous account, the 6-minute clip featured shadowy figures, distorted by the low lighting, moving in ways that made the internet explode. The online community quickly identified the two central figures as Diddy and Jay-Z. The video had everything: blurred visuals, ominous music, and disturbing imagery. But what was truly terrifying was what it hinted at: a much larger story, one that no one was prepared for. As the video spread like wildfire across social media, the defense team called for an immediate recess, while the prosecution requested all electronic devices in the courtroom be sealed. The room had become a pressure cooker. It was clear now that this wasn't just about a trial. It was about exposing a massive conspiracy that stretched far beyond the courtroom walls. Then the door opened again. Jay-Z, who wasn't listed as a witness for the day, walked in. He didn't say a word. His face was pale, his jaw tight. His fists were clenched. This wasn't the calm, controlled Jay-Z that had entered earlier. It was something far more volatile. Without warning, Jay-Z lunged toward the defense table where Diddy sat mid-conversation with his lawyer. A chair crashed to the floor, papers flew into the air, and then a single punch landed. It was swift, precise, and brutal, hitting Diddy square on the temple. Diddy, caught off guard, fell out of his chair. Blood began to drip from his ear, and the room was thrown into chaos. Court officers rushed to restrain Jay-Z, but the damage had already been done. The punch reverberated beyond the walls of the courtroom, sending shockwaves throughout the entertainment industry. This was no longer just a trial. It was a public confrontation, a violent clash between two of the most powerful figures in American music. The entire room stood in stunned silence. And then, just like that, the trial was postponed indefinitely. But the damage to both their reputations was irreversible.
The hidden truth and the leak of the full freak-off.
As the trial stalled and the courtroom descended into chaos, the real story was unfolding beyond the legal battle. The freak-off video had become the catalyst for a series of events that no one could have predicted. The leak of the video, along with the violent outburst between Diddy and Jay-Z, had revealed a dark underbelly of power, manipulation, and control in the entertainment industry, an underbelly that was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. It wasn't just the freak-off video that had the world in a frenzy. It was the growing realization that this was merely a glimpse into a larger web of corruption. The leaked footage showed two men whose silhouettes were eerily similar to Diddy and Jay-Z, sitting across from each other in a room bathed in red light, surrounded by VHS tapes. The scene was ominous, but it was the cryptic message scrawled on the floor that grabbed everyone's attention. "Don't trust her. She has the tapes." Rumors quickly began circulating that Oprah Winfrey, long rumored to be connected to the secretive world of Diddy's notorious parties, was the woman referenced in the message. The internet exploded with theories. Was Oprah the keeper of the tapes? Had she been complicit in the actions exposed by these videos? The speculation was wild, but the questions lingered. The FBI, meanwhile, was scrambling to track down every lead. Investigators were piecing together the metadata from the tapes, but the deeper they dug, the more troubling the evidence became. Not only did the freak-off video reveal disturbing acts, but it was also clear that there was far more footage that had never been meant to see the light of day. Within hours, another more disturbing version of the video surfaced. This time, the footage was clearer and the actions more graphic, suggesting that the parties weren't just about indulgence, but involved coercion and manipulation. The FBI's investigation grew even more urgent. Who was behind these leaks, and more importantly, what were they trying to expose? The question that everyone was asking was not just what was on the tapes, but who else was involved in this twisted world, and how deep did the conspiracy go? As the investigation continued, it became clear that this was just the tip of an iceberg far larger than anyone had ever imagined.
The emerging web of power and manipulation. The revelations were coming faster than anyone could process. As Tape 17 and the leaked freak-off videos sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, it became apparent that the case against Diddy wasn't simply about one man's fall from grace. It was about a vast, hidden network of power and manipulation. The question that had once seemed simple, who was responsible for the actions exposed in the videos, was now much more complex. The story was no longer just about a feud between two music moguls. It was about the corrupt systems that allowed these actions to continue, unchecked, for years. The FBI's investigation revealed a disturbing pattern. The tapes weren't just isolated incidents. They were part of an orchestrated effort to exploit and control individuals within the entertainment industry, using fame and wealth as tools for manipulation. At the center of this web was not just Diddy, but a series of high-profile figures, many of whom had long been untouchable in the public eye. It wasn't just about private parties or secretive gatherings. It was about using the immense power of fame to control the lives of others, often through coercion or threats. As more footage surfaced, the FBI uncovered disturbing details. Some of the tapes appeared to show a systematic pattern of coercion, with participants engaging in activities that seemed to be driven by fear rather than consent. Even more alarming, the people involved weren't just from the music industry. Politicians, business tycoons, and even people in high positions of influence were named. The question on everyone's mind was simple. How deep did this go? How many people had been complicit in this twisted system? As the investigation intensified, whispers began circulating about who else might be involved. There were murmurs about powerful individuals with ties to the political elite, major media figures, and even celebrities who had publicly denounced Diddy's actions but now appeared to have been tied to the very same network.
The media frenzy reached a new peak when a new leak emerged, a chilling message from an unknown source that seemed to hint at even more devastating revelations to come. The question that everyone was now asking was no longer just who was involved, but who was orchestrating this web of manipulation, and how many more were about to be exposed. The pieces were coming together, and the truth was starting to look far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated.
Conclusion: the growing conspiracy and the road ahead. As the trial dragged on and the revelations continued to unfold, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't just about a scandal between two music moguls. It was about an entire system built on secrets, power, and manipulation. What had started as a legal battle over allegations had morphed into a far-reaching investigation, into a conspiracy that spanned decades, one that had entangled some of the most influential figures in entertainment, politics, and beyond. With each new leak, each new video, the walls around Diddy, Jay-Z, and their cohorts seemed to close in tighter. The freak-off video was no longer just an isolated piece of footage. It was the key to a much larger story that had been buried for years. The FBI's investigation continued to expose a tangled web of corruption, coercion, and intimidation. And the question that loomed over every piece of evidence was, how many more people were involved? The media frenzy surrounding the case reached new heights as every twist and turn in the story became headline news. Fans and critics alike were left grappling with the aftermath of these shocking revelations. The public's once unwavering admiration for Diddy and Jay-Z began to fade, replaced with distrust and suspicion. People began to ask themselves, how could they have been so blind to the signs? And who was truly behind all of this? But even as the investigation deepened, another question remained. What was still hidden? The full extent of the tapes, the participants involved, and the people who had been working behind the scenes to cover it all up remained a mystery. And the most chilling part? No one could say for sure when or how this twisted story would end. As the courtroom doors closed and the media coverage ramped up, one thing became certain. The fallout from this case would be felt far beyond the courtroom. In a world built on secrets, power, and fame, the truth had finally begun to emerge, only to raise even more questions about the true nature of the people at its heart. The question now was no longer about the scandal, it was about the conspiracy. And what came next would determine whether anyone, even the most powerful, could escape the fallout.